Okay, who do you think is the favourites to win the Democratic nomination for the president in 2020?
Oh, that's actually a really good question. So I've actually been watching a few of these like predicty channels that predict these things, and I need to sneeze. I feel like I've never sneezed on this podcast before.
Yeah, don't start now.
Oh, I feel like it's coming, but it's one of those things. Okay, anyway, at some point I might sneeze, but the important thing is, yeah, I've been watching some things about it, and I guess like there's this woman who's running. She's from Hawaii, and I've kind of forgotten her name. It's bothering me actually that I can't remember her name.
Tulsi Gabbard.
Yeah, Tulsi Gabbard. That's it. Yes. Okay, so that sounds like a weird one because I didn't even know her name, but there's something about me that just feels. I can feel it.
What, you think Tulsi Gabbard's going to win?
Yeah, I think Tulsi Gabbard. Okay, so here's the thing. I mean, like, obviously you've got Bernie, but it just seems so weird.
Well, I think Kamala Harris is the favourite.
Yeah, the thing about Kamala Harris is that everyone's like hates her because she's a narc.
She is a narc. She is. Yeah. I just hope Bernie Sanders wins.
Yeah,
not least to piss off all the Hillary Clinton supporters. Yeah,
I mean, I still think to this day. I mean, it kind of almost doesn't seem controversial to me to suggest that Bernie would have won. I mean, it seems because I mean, like, there's loads of people who say things like, oh, they would have turned the fact that he was a communist against it. But here's the thing, okay? Bernie Sanders is good at framing the debate in his favor. He's good at quote unquote attacking his opponents, and by attacking I kind of mean attacking them in a legitimate way. Mm-hmm. And also he's good at appealing to the problems faced by the white working class. So even if you just ignored his policies, which I think seem to be reasonably good, it is still the fact I think he would be a smart move politically for the Democratic Party.
Yeah. I just want to get you. I just want to let you know this tweet I saw, and I've screenshotted it because it was so hilarious. It was December the 10th to the 13th. Likely Democratic caucus goers. Top choices for nominee. Biden was first. Sanders was second. Beto O'Rourke was third. Warren was fourth. Kamala Harris was fifth, and Booker was sixth. And someone called Resistor Sister replied, "Why is Bernie on a poll for Democratic candidates? Enough of this fuckery."
Oh,
and her avatar is a picture of Nancy Pelosi wearing sunglasses.
That's beautiful. Yeah.
It's just like I don't get it. Like, these people, like, they just really don't like Bernie Sanders at all.
Yeah, I feel like it's like because there's Bernie bros, and everyone can agree Bernie bros are kind of annoying. But like, I just don't. Yeah, I don't really get why people.
I don't know. Like,
it's like it's kind of like now it's like cool to hate him amongst a certain group of people.
Well, I don't know. It's like they don't really care about policy. They're just like they just have like fandoms, like that person with a Nancy Pelosi avatar. Like, what are you doing? Like, it's crazy.
Nancy Pelosi is lit, epic style.
Exactly. So yeah, like I don't know who's going to win. I probably think it's going to be Kamala Harris, and Bernie Sanders will probably come in second. That would be my bet.
Yeah, always the bridesmaid, that Bernie.
Yeah, I think so.
Yes, I agree. But okay, yeah, that was probably ended up being quite long. Classic. It's the classic not having a cold intro idea and then coming up with one, but what we have is very long. All right, ready for this week?
Back up, chump, Biggie Smalls rips it quick and kicks it quick. You know how black niggas get with the hood fatigues, with the boots with trees. Flipping trees, making crazy G's. Hitting buckshots at niggas that open spots on the avenue. Take my loot and I'm bagging. Pimping hoes that drive Volvos and rodeos. Flash the roll, make a wreck in they pantyhose. Damn, a nigga style is unorthodox, grip the clock. When I walk down the crowded block, just in case a nigga wanna act out, I just black out, blow the motherfucking back out. That's a real nigga for you.
Hello and welcome to Select and Reflect, the movie review podcast where we look at films that have come out relatively recently at the cinema and see if they still hold up upon a second watch. I am your host, Michael, and I'm joined as always by my co-host, Luke. And this week we are reviewing 3 Billboards outside of Ebbing, Missouri, because, of course, it's part of our Oscar celebration in the run-up to the...
Oh, is it a celebration now?
Yeah, celebration, honoration. In the run-up to the 2019 Oscars, we are looking at the winners from last year in a variety of different areas, and of course this one won with Best Actress and Best Supporting Actor. And Luke, why don't you tell us a thing or two about 3 billboards outside of Ebbing, Missouri?
It's not actually outside of, Michael. It's just outside Ebbing, Missouri. Just like
I don't know. I didn't watch the film, Luke.
Oh, right. Well, anyway, 3 billboards outside Ebbing, Missouri is a 2017 dark comedy crime drama film written, directed, and produced by Martin McDonough. Stars Frances McDormand, along with Woody Harrelson, Sam Rockwell, Lucas Hedges, Abby Cornish, John Hawkes, and Peter Dinklage. It was released on November the 10th, 2017, in the United States. And Michael, do you want to have a guess at the budget?
I don't know, like what? It's hard to say because this is like one of those things where there would have been, this quite an established director, quite established actors.
It's only his third movie.
Yeah, I know, but everyone loves In Bruges.
I do live in Bruges.
So I'm going to go for 35 million. No, 25 million.
Between 12 and 15 million.
Yeah, good. Glad I went lower.
Yeah.
I was thinking 35 seemed. The thing is, it will always be the case that frickin' 50 Shades of Grey just throws me off because it's so mental.
What was it again? Wasn't it 50 Shades Darker?
Yeah, one of them was 39 million. Just insane.
Insane. Box office.
Not much. I mean, I don't know. Maybe probably around about 100 million. Maybe 110 million.
159 million.
Okay, well done.
Yeah, that's only 100 million less than Blade Runner.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
Kind of impressed.
Yeah, it is impressive. So, Michael, did you like 3 billboards outside Ebbing, Missouri?
I did like 3 billboards outside of Ebbing, Missouri. Did you like 3 billboards outside of Ebbing, Missouri?
You know what? I think from now on we should just refer to it as 3 billboards.
Nah,
I think
I'm good.
that would be better. You sure?
Yeah. What did you think of Ebbing, Missouri?
Yeah, I liked it as well, Michael.
Yeah, good.
Yeah.
So, as always, no matter how much we like a film as well, Michael, we have nitpicks. How many dozen nitpicks did you have, Luke?
I just have 1.
I have 2.
Okay.
So you get to do your 2 or your 1 first.
Yeah. So, why did Chief Willoughby, obviously played by Woody Harrelson,
Wallaby, mate.
That was great. Thanks for that. Why did he not just tell someone else to look after his kids while him and his wife had sex?
Yeah, that's true. I also where did they have sex? Like, did they have sex in a bush?
Yeah, exactly. Like, because you have to also kind of watch the kids, at the same time. It's just doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I mean that's what I don't know. I don't have children, but I assume when you want to have sex when you've got children, you send them to their friend's house, you drop them off at their grandparents. I mean, I know this is America, so obviously everything's 100 miles away from each other. So you couldn't drop them off at your grandparents because it would be a flight away. Because everyone in America just lives millions of miles away from everyone else. But,
yeah, actually, well, that's kind of not true. Like, most people in America don't live they live under 20 miles away from their parents.
Yeah, I guess also it's probably I feel like middle America, they don't travel around a lot. I feel like I know a lot of people who are from California who have moved there, or people on the East Coast, they like to move up the East Coast.
Yeah, those are transplant cities like Los Angeles and Las Vegas.
Yeah,
and New York as well. Yeah,
nobody from Ebbing, Missouri's got anywhere to go.
Yeah, exactly.
Even though Missouri doesn't even exist.
Yes. What's your nitpick then, Mike?
Okay, so my 2 are one of them's a bit not really a plot hole, but I feel like in these kinds of films, families swear a lot around each other.
These kind of films.
I don't know what it is. Okay, so it's kind of it's like a sort of darkly comedic, unfiltered explorations of the darker sides of human experience, Manchester by the Sea. And it's just people are always hey, fucking fuck, shit, fuck, cunt, what you fucking doing in my fucking house, fuck. And it's okay, mum. I see, I think that I come from a relatively kind of liberal family when it comes to swearing. If England concede a goal to Croatia, then I can get away with saying shit,
Wow.
Yeah, I know, it's mental, but And you know, sometimes when if it's for very particular comedic effect, you can get away with swearing, or if you know you're very angry and you're having an argument, you can get away with swearing without your parents pulling out the belt or anything.
Wait, what?
But Luke, these freaking gosh darn houses in America. Like, I always thought Americans, I mean, we've mentioned this before, Americans are very conservative about swearing. That was my understanding. I thought that was quite an accurate understanding. And yet, if these films are to be believed, everyone is just like swearing all the time in these American households. And
yeah.
That's not realistic. I mean, I don't know, like, maybe, I guess, obviously, you could say it's a class thing. But even then, like, I don't know. I mean, I've been to working class people's houses, and they're not all like, boy, fuck.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, Michael. Like, maybe it was just this family. Maybe it was just Frances McDormand, just the type of kids she's raised.
Yeah, gosh darn. Frances McDormand. Maybe that's where, I actually don't know the name of the actor, but maybe that's where he picked it up from when he was swearing in Manchester by the Sea.
Oh, Lucas Hedges.
Yes, that's it.
Yeah, is that why you went to Manchester by the Sea immediately? Lucas Hedges is in both.
You know what? Yeah, I mean, I think of every single film that I've ever seen any of these actors in, which encompasses quite a few films. And then the final one says, can you really pick up flesh, like chunks of flesh, with your fingernails? Because of course, Sam Rockwell scratches a guy on the cheek, and then he comes home, he picks up, a proper bit of flesh from his fingernails. And I'm thinking, like, I don't know, like, my fingernails are often quite long, and I don't think that you can, I would say that skin has quite a bit of integrity to it. I don't think you can, dig in and get some flesh out of somebody. You could scratch them and cause them to bleed. I'm not denying that, Luke. But can any normal human being with their fingernails just dig out bits of flesh from somebody else's face?
I mean, maybe.
I mean, see, like, the thing is, like, while I was, like, thinking about this, I was kind of scratching my own face, but obviously there's a bit of a self-preservation instinct that means that it's not really a proper test, because I think even if I could, in theory, scratch flesh out of my face, due to, like I say, self-preservation instinct, I probably wouldn't be able to do it anyway. It's kind of like how you can bite off your own finger if you wanted to, but, you're just not going to do that, are you, Luke?
No, yeah.
Even if it was for science.
I guess that's a good point, Michael.
So, anyway, plot. So, I have one thing I would like to say up front about the plot, Luke.
Well, Michael, first I need to say what the plot is.
Oh, yeah, of course.
You always jump the gun on these things.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
So, well, basically, it's quite simple. Frances McDormand starts as a woman who rents 3 billboards to call attention to her daughter's unsolved rape and murder. And, basically, some of the townspeople aren't too happy about those billboards.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's it, yeah, you're right. And various things ensue.
Mm-hmm. Yes, various things do ensue, as you would probably expect in movies.
Yes, things happen. And I guess it should be said that this was pretty neat. But yeah, okay, I'll say what I wanted to say right off the bat.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I'm fond of is any film where the protagonist is so single-minded that they begin to become, not necessarily a villain, but not altogether sympathetic. And that was one of the things that I really liked about this plot. I like the fact that you had this character who was very committed to their idea of justice, and obviously not necessarily a bad idea of justice. I don't know about you, Luke. I hate to be a virtue signaler, but I think that people who rape and murder women should be sent to prison, or at least given a stern talking to. But
JW.
Yeah, but obviously, while it's a noble goal, of course, she does at times appear to be unreasonable with, obviously, and some of her actions are shown to be kind of offensive to people. The way that it's her son, for example, doesn't like it. And there's a bit where Mr. Wallaby shows up at her house, and he's like, "Look, we've looked into it. There's no DNA evidence attached to connecting anybody to these things." And she's basically saying, like, "Well, just do DNA tests of every single person in the area." And he's like, "We can't do that. It's against civil rights." And I thought that was really neat, like the fact that, she kind of didn't seem completely. It was clear that she was being unreasonable.
Yes.
Even if obviously sadness and frustration was understandable.
Yeah, I did. When I watched it the first time, I kept waiting for her to be like, "All right, I'll take the billboards down." But no, she was like, she didn't give in. Like when they were burning, I expected, what did I expect? Oh yeah, so when she's walking away from her son and she grabs the fire extinguisher, I was expecting her to just like collapse on the grass, like, and start crying and being like, oh, what am I doing? Like, oh, it's all of this, it's just too much for me. But no, she didn't. She went out and tried to put the fire out on the billboard, and she'd like never just weakened her resolve.
Yeah.
It's like, and that was very interesting, because you do expect, like, because she's the main character and she's probably, like you say, being unreasonable, you do expect her in the movie to be like, oh, yeah, okay, I was being a bit of a jerk, your Chief Willoughby has died of cancer, or just had cancer, you know what, and he literally coughed blood in my face, you know what, I'm going to take the poster down. But no, she go on.
I was going to say, so it reminds me of when we were talking about the Darkest Hour, and one of the things I said is that I would have liked it if they would have, because one of the things that of course occurs in Darkest Hour is Winston Churchill is very obstinate. He's very reluctant to entertain the idea of peace, and I was saying one of the things I would have loved is if they would have turned that into almost a kind of thing that could perhaps be worthy of criticism. Winston Churchill is so obstinate that perhaps you could argue that he's actually being unreasonable. And that was, you can go back, I know you doubt me, but you can go back and you'll see that I said that about The Darkest Hour in relation to Winston Churchill. And with that in mind, I mean, that's exactly what this film kind of did. It had somebody who, on the one hand, you could say, oh, they've got, a lot of resolve and some kind of positive characteristics in some ways, but it's, so single-minded that it becomes evidently a bit negative or worthy of criticism, that she's so committed to obviously something that, like I say, I mean, like the Mr. Wallaby obviously didn't say that he killed himself because of the signs, but it's still, it's disrespectful. So yeah. Well,
that her not turning and not really weakening her resolve, that was interesting and unexpected. Well, it was unexpected to me anyway. Was it unexpected to you as well?
Yeah, I mean, so. Well,
you didn't expect the movies to go like that. You expect them to come around.
Yes, one of the things I was immediately expecting, I don't know why, sometimes I have very specific ideas in my head of what I expect to happen, and one of the things I was expecting to happen in this film is that there would be an attempt within the police force to just randomly arrest like a completely innocent person in order to satisfy her. I was imagining, like, because I was kind of thinking, I had this idea in my head that she might be portrayed a bit unsympathetically right from the get-go. And I was kind of imagining the idea of, her kind of forcing the police to a position where they're arresting an innocent person just to satisfy her. And I guess in some sense that was fulfilled, as we might get into a bit later, with the idea of her potentially going to murder an innocent person, could have been innocent, just to satisfy her revenge instinct. Yeah, I was kind of expecting something like that to happen. But, with her kind of changing her, so that is kind of the second act. So I was expecting maybe she would break down her resolve in the third act. So I was expecting it to kind of get worse before it got better. But that, like you say, I was expecting that she would eventually change. And of course, the fact that she didn't made it a very kind of interesting and unconventional character study.
Yes, I guess so. I think also there are a lot of moments in the plot which are unexpected. Which, certainly watching it for the first time, you're like, whoa, like, I did not see that coming. Like, it's an incredibly unpredictable kind of film. It subverts your expectations, if you will. Like, for example, when Chief Willoughby kills himself, he shoots himself in the head.
Yeah.
That was like, that came out of left field when I watched it the first time. Also, when Sam Rockwell struts out of the police station and throws that guy, out the window. That was like crazy. I loved that. It was like, wow, that was just out of nowhere, and it was just great. So yeah, there's those kind of moments of this movie which are just hit you, and it's like, oh, I did not see that coming. I can't believe that happened. And
I think it's obviously it's kind of I guess the unpredictability of it is sort of a whole point about how. Again, it's kind of like the way things can spin out of control, the way things that, you're committed to this kind of cause and effect of like, oh, I'll just pressure the police and then they'll catch the person who, did this thing to my daughter. And then, of course, the fact that so many things are completely unexpected, the fact that, first of all, the fact that the chief police even has cancer. And obviously, and that's kind of the first example of Frances McDormand seeming unreasonable, where he's like, I have cancer. I'm not even going to be here for that much longer. And she's like, yeah, I know. That's why I've got it up, to pressure you now.
Before he croaks, yeah.
Yes. But yeah, so many crazy things. And then I guess obviously there's some unexpected things that aren't crazy. Like, for example, when Sam Rockwell finds himself in hospital with the guy whom he pushed out the window, I was expecting some kind of, possibly quite sadistic revenge. I mean, not, ridiculously sadistic,
Yeah, no, I get what you mean.
I associate it was partially because of Get Out, because I was thinking, oh, that guy's, he's evil. I couldn't get that out of my head when I was looking at
yeah.
He's obviously the son in Get Out. But yeah, and then of course he just gives him an orange juice, and it's kind of like a whole thing about forgiveness. He forgives him, like a pussy. He doesn't throw Sam Rockwell out the window.
No, again, that's unexpected because
it's unexpected. Because you don't expect him to just forgive him. You expect things to be because obviously this film's been kind of a bit miserable so far.
Yeah, it was like, oh, that's nice. That's showing he's the bigger man. Like, it's something that I really didn't think that movie would do. Also, like at the end, the movie also subverts your expectations because I was expecting that guy at the bar,
a bit like The Last Jedi.
Yeah, that's why I used the phrase, Michael.
Oh, good. Okay.
But no, so obviously Woody Harrelson in his letter to Frances McDormand says, these things are often solved by one guy bragging at a bar too loudly and being stupid. And then obviously Sam Rockwell hears some guy bragging at the bar too loudly, and he's like, oh, okay, so he's that guy that raped her daughter.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is how it's going to end, and Sam Rockwell's going to redeem himself by capturing him, and everything's going to end, like a movie typically would. But obviously that guy isn't the person, because he was in Iraq or Afghanistan or someplace with sand. I like that joke, by the way.
Yeah,
that doesn't really narrow it down. A good critique of American foreign policy from Sam Rockwell. But yeah,
I might say in many ways that this film was a massive analogy for the American reaction to 9/11. Of course, the 9/11 attacks being representative of, you know what I'm saying, Luke, don't you? Yes. 9/11 attacks being representative of your daughter being sexually assaulted, and the 3 billboards being representative of the illegal war started by George W. Bush and Dick Cheney.
Yeah. Has anyone made that comparison?
No, but I just did.
Well, that's why we do this podcast.
Exactly. So now later on, somebody else can make that comparison and they can cite me.
Okay. So yeah, that was the ending was unexpected because we thought it'd all be wrapped up, but no, it wasn't. He wasn't actually in the country when Frances McDormand's daughter was murdered. So
yeah, I must admit, actually, I was a bit suspicious of one of the things I was thinking is at first I was thinking that she probably wasn't going to find out who was responsible, mostly because I was thinking, it'll be one of those stories where revenge is a bad thing. So obviously, if she found out who was responsible, I was thinking that would kind of contradict it. And I was kind of surprised when I heard him bragging. I was like, oh wait, okay, so she does know who's responsible. That's kind of interesting, or an interesting development in a way. And then obviously it's double interesting because she thinks she's found out who's responsible, and actually it's not him.
Well, I didn't think there was going to be a suspect, and so then was the suspect. I was like, oh right, that must be him, but it wasn't. Double twist.
I thought this film was going to have a kind of element of the critiquing the futility of revenge in some contexts, and that was going to be, like you say, there was going to not be a suspect. That was very much my working assumption too. So yeah, even though obviously if there was a suspect it would have been more conventional, I think the film had been so unconventional up until that point that
Well, it was about 9/11. Now we know. It was
about 9/11.
Anger begets anger, Michael.
Yeah, that's a good thing. What else? Okay. First of all, actually, I wanted to say I was kind of surprised by how I hadn't seen the trailer. I actually watched this trailer after watching this film because I'd heard some people say that the trailer was really good. So I went and watched the trailer. I don't know if you've seen it. Basically,
I haven't seen the trailer, no.
It's kind of a fine trailer. The only thing about it is that it's a red band trailer. I don't know if there is a non-red band trailer, but it's got loads of swearing in it. And that's the kind of interesting thing. It definitely makes the film look really good, and of course the film is really good, so not, but it makes the film look really action-packed, which is quite funny, and I can kind of imagine, based on the way the trailer is made, that it kind of makes it all look sort of like a revenge narrative, which is kind of funny. And I think almost in a way, actually, if you take the trailer within the context of the film, maybe there's a bit of kind of clever commentary going on, because the way that the trailer looks, it's got obviously the kind of reveal right at the beginning of the trailer that I don't think it mentions. I think it mentions so she was sexually assaulted. It mentions that at the beginning of the trailer, and then it has.
I just want to say, Michael, by the way, it's more than sexually assaulted.
Okay,
she's murdered as well.
Oh yeah, and murdered, and possibly. I guess she was set on fire after she was dead, so that's nice. I hope.
Yeah.
Maybe she was burnt alive.
Billboard said raped while dying, so it'd be hard to set her on fire and do that as well. Yeah. I'd assume.
Yeah. So, but anyway, yeah, and then obviously it's got all of these people being injured, being beaten up, which of course happens in the film. But the way it kind of looks, it looks as if it's like a revenge story, and in fact, it is a revenge story, but in a very unconventional way, which I think is quite cool. I'm sure I was going somewhere with this. Yeah. So I didn't know anything about this film when I watched it for the first time, and I was kind of surprised by how literal the title was. Because when you hear that title, it's a weird title, isn't it?
Yes, it is quite unique.
Ebbing, Missouri. And I was thinking it would be like, one of those titles where it's just like a bit like To Kill a Mockingbird. It's not got much to do with To Kill a Mockingbird except for one scene where someone's like, "My dad told me never to kill a mockingbird." And I was thinking like maybe it would be one of those deals where the film is kind of just a standard, charming little middle America drama. And then at one point, maybe they're looking out and it's like, there's always been 3 billboards going into Ebbing, Missouri. And that would be it. And that would be the explanation for the name of the film. But of course, the film is literally about 3 billboards. And that's kind of I guess the other thing is that, in a way, the 3 billboards become the focus of the film rather than the crime, in a way, which is kind of interesting. Because I have a reason to think about it. Because, of course, as we know, Luke, there is a problem in this society we live in. You might say it could be not entirely inaccurately called a rape culture, and especially
slow down there, pal.
Sorry,
we're going to lose all our viewers.
Especially in middle America, you hear. So one of the big things that we all know about is that a lot of the time college athletes and athletes in general can be the community in these small towns rallies around their athletes, and therefore one of the classic stories is an athlete commits rape or something like that, and the girl obviously accuses him of rape, and the community refuses to believe it or downplays it. And there was actually a story, the worst story ever, about, I can't remember where it was. It was quite famous, but basically this girl accused a high schooler, a high school kind of football captain or whatever, of rape. I think by all accounts justifiably. I don't really know the exact, obviously, you can never know, but the important thing is that her house got burned down. There was an arson attack on her house because the community was just, so unwilling to believe the possibility of this. So obviously what I'm saying is you could easily have a story about a community where the whole thing is they're refusing to believe that a rape occurred. They're rallying around the rapist. They're accusing the woman of being a liar and basically something like that. And of course this film isn't that, which
is that what you expected then?
Well, not really, but that's only because the thing is, I didn't know what this film's about really at all, and therefore, and the first thing you really get is the billboards thing. So, I wasn't really expecting it. But when the dentist, the particular scene which I thought was a fun little scene, was when the dentist was like, "I'm going to take out your tooth," and then he was like, Mr. Willoughby has a lot of friends, I think he says, and then
yes.
And then she, fights him. And at that point, I was thinking you could easily have a film a film where the town was much more kind of antagonistic, and it was a story about how evil small town America can be when they get a mob mentality. And I kind of appreciate that in a way. Obviously, it would be perfectly fine to have a film about that because it is something that occurs, and but I kind of appreciated that it was more nuanced than that.
Yeah, I guess so. I think. Obviously, what you're talking about is like a really different movie.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. Basically, I'm just saying, the film could have been something completely different, and it wasn't.
Yeah, I know.
That's the kind of top-tier reviewing I do on this channel.
Yeah.
Luke, did you ever think about how this film could have been about World War II?
It could have been.
It could have been Saving Private Ryan in this film, couldn't it?
It could have been.
That's my impression of me reviewing a film.
Very good one. Yeah, anyway, well, I'll just say what I thought was good about this film, or the plot more specifically. I think it's because you just have a load of a bunch of interesting characters, interacting in a small town in middle America. They're all incredibly Like I said, interesting. You got obviously Francis McDormand, incredibly stubborn. Woody Harrelson,
he's like nice, which is kind of he's well-meaning.
He's well-meaning. He's got cancer. He's got a lot of stuff going on. Sam Rockwell, his character's just great. I love him. The slightly mentally challenged racist cop. Also, you've got who else? Oh yeah, Red Welby, who's played by Caleb Landry Jones. The guy in the advertisement building. Yeah. He's a bit unusual as well. And so, and Peter Dinklage, as his character's called James, but obviously he plays the midget, as he always does. And you've got what is it? Oh yeah, the wife. Sorry, not the wife. The husband, former husband of Frances McDormand.
And her what's it called? I can't think what the word is. His secretary, no, not secretary, intern girlfriend, who's like 19.
Yeah, who's 19. Yeah.
I hope she's 19. I was thinking she could be 17 for a minute. But
no, she's 19. Who's a bit of an airhead. So you got all these interesting characters doing unexpected, weird things in small town America, and it's just it's like there's not really like a plot or a narrative thrust to this movie, but it's just like it's all about these characters, and also what really helps, which we'll get later, is the acting.
Yes, we will get into that.
Is really good. Like everyone is fantastic in this movie.
Everybody brought their A game.
Everybody did bring their A game, Michael. Everybody did, and that just obviously in a movie about characters mainly
and emotion.
And emotion, yes, that is the key. You've got to get
much like Jar Jar Binks. It is the key to all of this.
It is the key to all of this. So yeah, that's what I like. I just like basically. If your movie doesn't really have a plot, like a narrative thrust, like I want to see two characters having a conversation, like and it be entertaining, and like literally every conversation or the vast majority of conversations that characters had in this movie, it was entertaining. Like when Sam Rockwell talks to Frances McDormand, or when Sam Rockwell talks to anyone, basically, it's good. When Frances McDormand talks to Chief Willoughby, those scenes are entertaining. Overall, I think that this wouldn't have worked without really interesting characters and really good performances from the actors, and they both delivered.
Yeah, I mean, I wanted to say something really similar. It was just it's like such an emotional like journey, and that's obviously it's a film that's much more about emotion than it is about things that are happening. They're not going to a place, Luke. They're going to a state of being, and that state of being is revenge.
Is it?
Yeah. Well, okay. I did actually want to say one thing.
Okay.
So, I did think the Peter Dinklage storyline didn't really go anywhere. I think I don't necessarily dislike it, because I think it's like one of those things where sometimes you can have it's one that's like, oh, it's a bit like real life, and it lets the character be the character in a particular situation, and obviously. Not every scene has to go somewhere. I just noticed it didn't go somewhere.
Yeah, but that's he's another quirky character in this little middle American town. He's another interesting character. So yeah, I'm fine with that. It didn't go anywhere. Like he was just there, to try and seduce Frances McDormand, and obviously the fact that he's a midget is, I guess, it's interesting.
I mean, he obviously it's one of the things. Just necessarily every single film that he's in, the fact that he is a midget has to be. I feel like here's the confusing thing. I feel like dwarf is the preferred term, but that just seems very strange to me.
Yeah, I don't think it's dwarf. Maybe it's little person.
See, here's the thing. Okay, I mean, I hate to be a bit of a conservative on these issues, but I just think like sometimes if they can't decide between themselves, amongst themselves, what is the preferred term on these issues, then, they can't get too angry at us, can they, Luke?
Do you think they should have, like, a convention?
Yeah, I think what we need is a pamphlet, because, like, it used to be that you could call somebody retarded, and it was actually, okay, that was a good Louis C.K., Louis C.K., Luke?
Yes.
The disgraced comedian. He did a revival kind of show thing, recently.
Yeah, I did, yeah.
I listened to it, and he said something quite funny in it about the term retarded, where basically he was like, we can't use the term retarded anymore, and he was saying like how there are people back in the day who were called retarded, and basically what we're saying to those people is that the entire time for like the last 50 years that retarded has been an acceptable term to describe people who are mentally challenged. We've basically just been insulting them. I thought it was quite funny.
Yeah.
Almost as funny as masturbating all over women
while you're on the phone to them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. I said before Sam Rockwell's character was mentally challenged. I was gonna say the R word, but I felt, you know what?
Yeah. You decided just for once you were going to be aggressive.
Exactly. I mean, the R word, it's not meant to be insulting. I think it means like somebody below 70 IQ.
Also, in French, it means late. You say, je suis retard, and it means late.
Do you remember the Black Eyed Peas song, I think it was, Let's Get Retarded in Here?
Yeah. I think, like, it's a pretty cool idea. I feel like it's kind of empowering, though. Like, to say, because retarded, it's often used in a negative way. But that song, it's like, let's get retarded. So I think they should embrace that. That's what I think. That's kind of, as somebody who likes to advise the special educational needs people on these issues, I would suggest that they should embrace the "Let's Get Retarded" song, because
you're saying that it's a spin zone for the retarded people.
Yes.
Yeah. Now being retarded is cool.
Exactly. Yeah. I think Black Eyed Peas should have cast actual, mentally. I don't even know what the correct term is. Here's the thing: like nowadays, there are people saying like, oh, you can't say the word idiot because that's offensive, and it's like, yeah, but only to idiots.
Yeah, that's good. That's very clever, Michael. So yeah, you got anything else to say on the plot?
Okay, I actually had one. This is the most. It's a minor criticism. It could be a nitpick, but I don't. It's kind of like an actual thing. I just thought that the line is like the "I hope I get raped," because you didn't give me a lift. Oh yeah, I hope you get raped too. I thought that was a bit on the nose. It didn't bother me too much. I was like, okay, whatever. I just thought like it kind of goes back to my whole thing about these families being very casual and sweary around each other, and like they will hate each other. But
yeah, I don't think it was on the nose, to be honest. But I mean, we'll talk about that later in the comedy portion.
Yeah, all right, that's fine. Yeah.
I just got one more thing to say.
Yeah. I think I'm done.
Yeah, good. I love the way you find out what is on the 3 billboards that Francis McDormand's put up. Like Sam Rockwell, like goes from back to front.
Yeah.
It's just so great. Like it's such an inventive way to find out what happened. Yeah. So I did like that. I have to say, like you could have just had a scene where like someone pulls up and they see all 3 in a row and it just pans back and it's like you can read it all at once. But yeah, that was a really nice way to show what was on the billboards. I enjoyed that.
Yeah, I 100% agree. It was very good exposition, as the kids are calling it nowadays.
Yes, very good exposition indeed. Anyway, so what do you want to get on to next?
I think
comedy.
Yeah, comedy. Okay, so this film it was a dark comedy.
It was
not dissimilar to In Bruges.
No, yes, it's very, very much the same style. Although I'd say I think this movie, from what I can remember of In Bruges, I think this movie was darker in its comedy.
It was. Yeah. In Bruges was more embracing of the humour. Yeah, there were. The funny thing is, actually, I must admit that I'm struggling to recall any funny moments off the top of my head, but I do remember just thinking like, there's an interesting use of humour in this film. Yeah,
well, I mean, we can just talk about what you were talking about before, the scene where the daughter's walking out of the house and saying, I hope I get raped. And then Frances McDormand shouts back at her, I hope you get raped too. And then it cuts to, obviously, her just looking at her bedroom. I don't know about you, but do you remember, obviously, the scene I'm talking about?
Yeah, I do, yeah.
But yeah, I don't know about you. The first time I watched that, I laughed out loud. Like, I really laughed out loud. And when that happened, I was feeling uncomfortable because I was like, wait, was I meant to laugh out loud?
Yeah.
Was that a dark comedy moment? And I think it was. But
yes. So I actually, I never laughed out loud, but there's no reason why I didn't laugh out loud, apart from just arbitrary not laughing, but there were a whole load of moments where I did think to myself, okay, this is funny. What's happening right now is humorous.
Yeah, that's the thing. I was worried. Obviously, I was watching it on my own. I wasn't in a theatre or a cinema, as we call them, on the side of the pond. So I didn't know if I was in a cinema and that moment happened, and I laughed out loud. Like, would other people do it, or would it just be me? But thankfully, I was on my own. But I did feel afterwards, like, wait, was I meant to laugh at that? But yeah, I think I was. Or it was okay for me to laugh at that because it is a dark comedy. And there's another moment when they're getting into a domestic, and son Lucas Hedges puts a knife to his dad's throat, and it happens so quickly, and it's like, whoa, that escalated fast. And then all of us, suddenly it's like this serious situation, and then his wife or his girlfriend, 19-year-old girlfriend, comes in and says, "Oh, wait, I have to use the bathroom. Should I come back?" And another dark comedy. I want to say, actually, I don't think maybe dark comedy isn't the right word. Maybe it's like comedy out of dark situations. Maybe that is just dark comedy, but I think it's slightly different.
It's a lot like that scene in Manchester by the Sea where they can't get the stretcher into the ambulance. But basically, it's an entire film of that.
Yeah, but that was like weird though. Those stretch scenes, and like when he can't turn the mobile phone off in the funeral, it's like, wait, is this meant to be part comedy?
Yeah, I was. The funny thing is, there's a scene obviously when Sam Rockwell gets like burnt, and he gets put onto a stretcher and onto the ambulance, and you can see the wheels for the thing go up. And in my head, what I was thinking was like, wouldn't it be a funny little moment if right now the wheels didn't go up, and that was what I was imagining in my head, because that would have been just hilarious, little icing on top of the awkward comedy cake. But didn't happen. And the important thing is, Luke, that I agree. The humor, it was on point. It was not like, it's kind of, obviously the obvious thing is to be addressed is that it's not like the kind of film where you would think that it should be trying to be humorous, and yet
exactly
it works like so well. Like, it's kind of mental how easy it is to accept that this is a perfectly fine opportunity to see comedy.
Well, I guess that comes with also the characters that are in this movie. Like, I mean, for example, the 19-year-old girlfriend. Like, obviously, she's just pure like comic relief character, and so when you put those characters in, and also Sam Rockwell, he's just hilarious. And so then it can become a comedy. And
I think with Frances McDormand, like, one of the things she kind of has is it's like she's almost entered like a trolling stage. When you think about it, like, so it's like she no longer really cares about being civil. She no longer cares about
holding her tongue.
Yeah. So there's a bit that one of, I think maybe one of the funniest moments is when the reporter is kind of saying, blah blah blah, is committed suicide. These things have been burnt down. Maybe it's good they've been burnt down. Blah blah blah. And then Frances McDormand just pulls up and she's like, "Hey bitch, the shit ain't over. You can put that in your fucking local news station." And it's just so funny. And obviously it's like she doesn't care. And I think it's kind of, in a way, it's sort of the comedic aspect, which kind of maybe builds up slightly as the film goes along. Recontextualizes some of the earlier scenes. Like I mentioned, for example, she seems unreasonable when she refuses to take down the billboard even when Willoughby has cancer, but obviously it kind of becomes clear that she is just so angry. It's basically she's 4chan. She's 4chan, but she actually has a reason to be angry. So obviously 4chan's angry because girls won't have sex with them, so they do things like vote for Donald Trump and call people racist words on the internet. But she's angry because she feels like she's been betrayed by the law system. She feels like she's not going to get any justice, and her response to that anger is just to fire all cylinders in all directions at the society at large. And it's kind of, in a way, it's like a commentary on social rebellion. In fact, maybe this film is a commentary on Trump and 9/11.
Yeah, and just everything.
Yeah.
And
I've got a massive long scroll of all the things this film is a commentary on.
Vietnam, the Iran-Contra situation.
Yes.
Yeah, Oklahoma City bombings. Yeah.
Oklahoma City bombings, that was anger.
Yeah, it was. They all had anger somewhere in them.
Yes.
Those events. Anyway, yeah, I just want to say on the comedy, like, I do think it balances a fine line, and it does it very well. Like, it's sharp and clever in some instances when it's not necessarily dark comedy, but when it is dark comedy, it's very, it's just like on the side of, okay, that's not too like garish, I guess would be the word. Like, I do think for some people, like, that rape joke, I guess, may have been a bit too far for them, but I think it wasn't too far for me, so I laughed at that. So
I'd be interested to know, like, it's kind of weird. I haven't seen many people complaining, like, that this film was irreverent dealing with these issues, but I imagine that there would be some people who would almost certainly think that, and not entirely without reason, but,
Yeah, I remember when it first happened, actually one of my thoughts was, was that meant to be, was the director trying to go for, like, a sad moment there? Because it was just, like, so, like, out of the blue. But, yeah. Thankfully, when I laughed, it wasn't inappropriate. Anyway, do you want to get onto the characters?
Yeah, I think we've kind of covered some of them, but yeah, we'll go through them again.
We'll go through them again, yeah. We've covered Frances McDormand's character, Mildred Hayes, I think, quite well. Like we said, stubborn, and her not backing down on any instance in the movie is unexpected, but also is incredibly interesting.
Are we going to talk about the acting now, though?
Yeah, okay, let's talk about the acting. So Frances McDormand, obviously, won Best Actress at the Oscars last year, and she beat out Sally Hawkins in The Shape of Water, which we'll be watching next, Margot Robbie in I, Tonya, Cerise Rosen in Lady Bird, and Meryl Streep in The Post. And we've reviewed none of those, but we will be reviewing 3 of those movies. So we can't really say whether she deserved it yet, but I think
I would be very surprised if she didn't.
Yeah.
Based on
Well, I've seen Cerise Ronan and Meryl Streep. I've seen Lady Bird and The Post.
Yeah.
And yeah, she's better than both of them, like, quite comfortably. This was an incredibly good performance from her, probably the best of her career, and she is literally perfect for this role. Like, just her eyes, they just pierce you when she looks at you. Like, she just looks naturally angry, which is why she's very good for this movie.
Yeah. There's this film has been compared to Fargo, because obviously it's got
why? Because it's got Frances McDormand in it.
Yeah, and also because it's in Middle America. And
wait, Fargo's not Middle America?
Well, I mean, Fargo is in North Dakota.
Yeah, it's on the border between North Dakota and Minnesota. It's incredibly north. It's not in the middle, is it?
Yeah, well, I don't know. I mean, what is Middle America, Luke? That's actually really relevant, because the other day, in fact, no, not even the other day, today, I was looking at Times winners, and one of the people who've been Times Person of the Year, and one of the people who's been Times Person of the Year is Middle Americans.
What?
I guess it's, I know, it's crazy. Middle America.
What year was this?
I think it was like 1980s.
What?
Yeah.
What did Middle America? What was it? Because they defeated communism or something?
Yeah.
It's like, hey guys, well done for not trying to fuck over all the rich people. Well done.
Yeah. What heroes?
Start a revolution. Great job, guys. I don't know. Anyway, Frances McDormand, fully deserved. Next up, we got. Let's just do Sam Rockwell as Jason Dixon. Sam Rockwell won Best Supporting Actor for his role as Jason Dixon. He beat out William Dafoe in The Florida Project, Woody Harrelson in 3 Billboards Outside in Ebbing, Missouri as well, Richard Jenkins in The Shape of Water, and Christopher Plummer in All the Money in the World. But actually, was that the movie where he was recast and Kevin Spacey got booted out? I think it was.
Because of what, Luke? Huh?
Because of the allegations against him that he was sexually assaulting young boys.
Remember when he was on Facebook? It's Frank Underwood.
Yeah, that was cool. So yeah, I'm not surprised Woody Harrelson was also nominated for this. But yeah, so Sam Rockwell, I think, did a better performance than Woody Harrelson based on this movie, and Best Supporting Actor, again, thoroughly deserved. We'll see how Richard Jenkins does in The Shape of Water. But I just love this character so much, and I loved his performance. It was amazing. I read he actually went to Missouri to work with a cop there, and so he could get the accent right.
Did you know Kansas City is in Missouri?
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's crazy, isn't it?
It is crazy. I mean, it's because like obviously the American states, a lot of them, are divided by rivers, and obviously people like to settle on the rivers. So if you're divided by a river, well, then
I've always thought that was stupid.
Yeah,
they really didn't have much forethought there.
No, they didn't. So just you got to build the cities there, I guess. So just don't make the state lines the rivers. Otherwise, you're going to have people living literally a few hundred meters away from each other.
They did that in the Congo. They've got Libreville, I think it's Libreville, and Kisangani, I think that's right.
Is it in Brazzaville?
Brazzaville, yeah. I think Libreville is somewhere else. Yeah, they've got Brazzaville, and the one of the Democratic Republic of Congo starts with a K. I think it's Kisangani, something like that. But
Kinshasa.
Kinshasa, that's it.
Yeah.
They're right opposite each other because they're built on the Congo. So someone was like, hey, what if we separated these two countries using the Congo? And then obviously people were like, hey, where are we going to build our cities? How about on that massive river? And now they've got two capital cities literally just facing each other.
It's like if the European part of Turkey was a different country to mainland Turkey. Like if Istanbul was split in two.
Are you suggesting that we should not reconquer Istanbul?
I am suggesting that, yes.
Traitor.
I know. Anyway, so, and you got anything to say on Sam Rockwell? Oh yeah, you said there was a controversy around race. Was this involving Sam Rockwell?
Yes, okay, so we should talk about that, shouldn't we, Luke?
Yeah, now's a good time to bring it up.
Basically, a lot of people have just said that it was a bit objectionable to them that this film had a character in it who was basically racist. He allegedly, and I think we are to assume he did in fact, torture black people whom he had held in custody. Also, his mum is racist. I mean, I know it's a bit of guilt by association, but her mum was like, why are you a colored person? Whereas we know Mac's mum from its source.
Oh, yes, she is, yeah.
But yeah, so he's racist, and and obviously you have this black, I don't know what the word is, like sheriff, I guess it's a sheriff.
Yeah.
Black sheriff come in, and he dismisses him, but there's not really any exploration of Sam Rockwell's racism, despite the fact he gets a redemption arc. The fact that he was a racist seems to have not really been addressed, and some people have just said that, it's a bit, it is a bit dismissive towards the very serious problem of racist policemen, to have that, be a part of the film and not really to address it. But there is actually a funny line by Woody Harrelson where it's like, if you got rid of, he says like, if you got rid of all the cops who hated black people, there'd only be like, he says like a third left, or did he say three left?
He said three left, and they don't hate
faggots. They all hate faggots.
Yeah.
I thought that was a really funny line. But yeah, I mean, what do you think about that controversy, Luke?
No, I think it's a good point. The thing is, Sam Rockwell's redemption involves him basically trying to solve the murder of what's she called?
Angela
Hayes. Angela Hayes. Yeah, Angela Hayes. So that's what he's trying to do. That's his redemption arc, and eventually, he comes around and tries to. He thinks he's got a suspect, but it's not, and it's kind of heartwarming. Seeing him, be a good guy, and obviously, Bill Willoughby said, deep down he's a good guy, and it's like, yeah, that shows. But again, he doesn't. There's no arc for his racism. Like it's treated as like a joke, like he's a racist cop, and then there's nothing else to that. He's just, he's a racist cop, and he's still racist. There's no like line where he regrets his actions, what he did, torturing some black people, and I guess this movie does obviously acknowledges racism and acknowledges homophobia in the police force in America, but it doesn't treat it as like a serious issue. I guess.
In fact, have you seen there's a really good, I think I mentioned this channel like literally last time we spoke, but it's the Pop Culture Detective. I did mention it, in fact, I remember. He has, because he had a video on Harrison Ford and, problematic issues surrounding sexual consent, things like that. But the other thing he did a video on was The Big Bang Theory. And basically he was talking about misogyny within The Big Bang Theory, and specifically, how it relates to misogyny within nerd culture. And what he said, this was his take, he said that The Big Bang Theory presents the sexism within nerd communities as something that exists, but as something that is ultimately harmless. And he obviously suggests that's kind of a bad thing. And I think in this film you could make a similar. It's not quite as bad, but I think you can make an argument that this film does also present. It kind of just says, racism within these communities exists, but it's almost just a quirk of these communities rather than a massively serious problem.
It's something, I guess, to laugh at, lol, as a racist cop, and not really think about it too much.
There's a really good. I've been rewatching many of the old classic videos by The Onion recently, and one of the best ones is when it's DNA evidence clears black man of horrific mauling of a woman who was out camping in a local kind of park, and basically the joke is that it makes completely clear that this person was actually attacked by a bear. It's like and the black man ripped her limb from limb and then dug through the picnic basket and ate all of the food, and then it's like this is the pictures of her in her last moments while she was with two bear cubs. And then at the end, the policemen go, "We will not rest until we find the black man responsible for this horrific mauling," which made me laugh. So, but yeah, obviously the Onion can get away with these things because it's the Onion.
Yeah. Anyway, shall we go on to what's he called? Oh yeah, so Bill Willoughby.
Woody Harrelson.
Woody Harrelson. Yes. How do you think he did, Michael?
I think he did a really, really good job. I mean, he wasn't in the film for much. Well, I don't know actually. When did he? Maybe you don't know, but do you remember exactly when he, or approximately when he killed himself in the film's runtime?
About 1 hour and 20 minutes in, I think.
That probably makes sense. But yeah, he obviously had this job to do a kind of character who was, I guess, started off kind of looking like a bad guy. I mean, if you were to just kind of make your guesses based on how the film begins, you think, oh, he's going to be, a cop who's really kind of shitty, really sort of negligent, doesn't really care about these things. And obviously you find out actually he, seems to really care about these issues, and it's kind of, again, it recontextualizes completely how the character should be treated. And he does a really good job of kind of portraying that kind of sympathetic, what do you want me to do kind of attitude. And I thought it was really good.
I mean, film starts off with, when you first see him, obviously, Sam Rockwell's character calls Woody Harrelson while he's having his Easter dinner, and he makes it clear that he's not at all happy being interrupted. So you immediately think, oh, this guy's going to be an asshole, this guy's going to be a real dick. But actually, no, he is, he's tough, I guess, but no, he's actually a good person. And, the touching letter he left his wife, and also I guess Frances McDormand, that was nice. Yeah,
I agree. I didn't think about that, but obviously, the way he is shown in that first scene, obviously looking very like, I've got better things to do with my time than you. I believe that's exactly how he sounds. Good. Well done, Woody.
Yes, well done. And I guess that's it, unless you want to talk about any of the other characters.
No, I think we've spoken about most of them kind of like with the plot. Obviously, there's Peter Dinklage. I mean, the thing is, like, nobody. We've got our best friend, Lucas. Is his name Lucas? I feel like we've forgotten his name again. Lucas Hedges.
Yes. Yeah. Lucas Hedges. Yes.
He's our boy from that film.
Do you think he's a good actor, Michael, Lucas Hedges?
I think. I mean, he's been in like so much, so he can't be a bad actor.
That's how it works, and not that.
Be a bad actor and have been in lots of films.
He
seems to be. He seems like he does play. I don't think I've necessarily seen him play enough like diversity to make a proper choice. But it seems like based on everything I've seen him in, he's pretty good.
Yeah, and we'll see him. We'll see him in a few weeks' time in Lady Bird. Yeah, I don't know. Just everything about him, just like when he acts, it just seems like so comedic.
Yeah,
and the thing is, in all of his films, like, well, I've seen him in, obviously, you've got Manchester by the Sea, which had an element of comedy to it. Then, obviously, this movie did as well, and so did Lady Bird, and so did one other thing that's I've seen him in. But I don't think he'd be good in like a drama, which didn't have
pure drama.
Yeah, pure drama. Also shout out. I'd like this guy. I'm gonna get his name wrong. Zelcho Ivanek. He was the desk sergeant. at the police station.
Oh yeah. He was good actually.
He was funny. He was funny. Yeah, I liked him as well.
Yeah.
Caleb Landry
No
Jones
idea
did a
who he
good
is.
job as Red Welby. Moving on from his role in Get Out.
Yeah.
Yeah, he doesn't die in this movie. So
Yeah, and that was I guess he couldn't really exactly tell what his kind of character motivation was, but it was still interesting to watch. I guess it was kind of like a bit of a coward in a way, because it was a bit like, no, they're bothering me, so I'm not going to rent this thing out to you, but then you can't really blame him, so good.
Yeah, and also Clark Peters as Chief Abercrombie. That's the black
Abercrombie and Fitch.
Yeah, exactly. I love it. I love the moment when Sam Rockwell walks back into the police station, and he's just standing there like, what the fuck? And then obviously he comes back in and then fires Sam Rockwell. That was a good scene. I like those scenes.
Yes.
Who do you think had the better performance, Michael? Sam Rockwell or Frances McDormand?
I tentatively want to say Frances McDormand, based on like how. Let me see if I can actually turn this into an actual point. So she kind of had to play like a character who went through more ranges of emotions. It kind of seemed to me a bit like Sam Rockwell. He basically, I don't want to diminish because I still think it was really good, but I think his was more playing like just a dumb guy. And obviously I'm not saying it's just a dumb guy and it was not very good, but I'm just saying I think Frances McDormand had a slightly more challenging thing, and that obviously made her be able to emote more.
I think Sam Rockwell did a better. Maybe not did a better job, because that implies that the job that Frances McDormand did wasn't like 10 out of 10 or whatever. And I think it probably was, but I think Sam McDormand. Sam Rockwell was better. I just loved his character and I loved his acting.
Yeah.
I really did think he was so much fun. And
yes, it's much of a muchness, really.
I think he was amazing, like outstanding. So I'm going to give it to him. But yeah, whatever. You can pick either one. Anyway, just a little aside before we finish off, Michael.
We haven't got anything else to talk about, have we?
Well, I've got one more thing to talk about before we conclude. So there was several impacts from this movie, and I'll.
Sorry, I saw that in the little Wikipedia page.
Yeah. So on February 15th, 2018, Justice for Grenfell, an advocacy group created in response to the Grenfell Tower fire, hired 3 vans with electronic screens in a protest against perceived inaction in response to the fire. The vans were driven around London and displayed messages in the style of the billboards in the film. 71 dead and still no arrests. How come? And also in response to the Stoneman Douglas High School shooting that took place on Valentine's Day in 2018 in Parkland, Florida, activist group Abaz had 3 vans circle Florida Senator Marco Rubio's office saying slaughtered in school and still no gun control. How come Marco Rubio? And there's various other ones, but those were the 2 biggest ones.
Yeah. That's good.
Yeah. So there you go. This movie again had some impact on real unsolved crimes. Or maybe not unsolved because the Parkland thing was solved, but injustices, I guess.
Yes. Yeah.
Also, I just want to say, Wang Qishan, China's vice president, said that he understood supporters of U.S. President Donald Trump in part through watching the film.
Wow.
So there you go. These caricatures of the American middle of the small town in middle America, maybe they're more accurate.
Yeah. I think that it did seem kind of accurate. I mean, it's kind of crazy when you think about like small town America. I mean, let's stop pretending it's not just like kind of pretty third world.
No, it is. It is definitely third world.
It's like, I mean, like that's the thing is like there's parts of the north that aren't great, Luke, but it's not like freaking Africa. You got these people there who are just like, yeah, there's no law in this town. We had one factory and it shut down, and now all we do is smoke crystal meth all day. That's basically the people's lives in America.
Yeah, I mean, like, I spent some time traveling through rural America when I went to America, and yeah, it is literally like a third world country in some instances, yeah.
And all the Americans are like, Europause. That's what they say. It's not even a clever thing, but if you ever like speak to like Americans who hate Europe, the kind of Americans who vote for Donald Trump, their big insult is they say Europause.
Wow.
I guess it's supposed to be like Europeans, but it's not even like it would make more sense if it was Europorans.
Yeah. Be that. I mean, yeah, I just don't know what to say about them, Michael. So yeah, there you go. There's stories actually in Alabama of people getting ringworm because the conditions are so bad there.
Wow. Oh, did you hear about the measles outbreak in, like, I think it was New Jersey?
Yeah, measles outbreaks
Because
again.
of the anti-vax. I mean, like, is that much of a thing in anywhere else?
No, I don't think so. I mean, Americans, for some reason, are just obsessed with conspiracy theorists, like far more than in this country. So, yeah, anti-vaxxers, I guess because they're more individualistic in America, so, they're more they're encouraged to be more free-thinking.
Yeah. Also, they are literally a country that is taught that they have to, like, be allowed to own AR-15s in case the government tries to put them into FEMA camps.
They're paranoid as well.
Yeah.
And, like, they've got all these things going on, so that creates a melting pot of conspiracy theories, I guess, to arise. Yeah. Anyway, shall we conclude on 3 billboards?
Yeah. Do you want to go first? I've been going first quite a bit recently.
Yeah. Okay. I'll go first then. So, 3 billboards outside Ebbing, Missouri. I thought this movie was nice. It was very good. What I enjoyed was the characters and the performances of the characters, or the performances of the actors, I guess, more specifically. You had Sam Rockwell, Frances McDormand, who gave incredible performances, and like I said, I loved Sam Rockwell's character. He was just so fun. And Woody Harrelson as well, he was really good. And it made up for the lack of plot or narrative thrust, because you could just have 2 of these characters talk to each other, and it'd be an entertaining scene just because of the characters and the dialogue written for them. So that was really neat. And also, I did like how unpredictable, unexpected the plot was. It does subvert your expectations in a number of areas, and you think, oh, this is what's going to happen, then something doesn't happen, and then suddenly out of the blue something happens that makes the movie more entertaining and interesting. And also on the comedy, I did appreciate the comedy. I do think that a movie like this, is up my street, and it may go too far for some people, the dark comedy or the comedy out of these dark situations, but I like that. And yeah, I did laugh at some of the jokes.
You monster. Maybe
some people wouldn't. So yeah, I'm going to give this movie, Michael, an 8.5 out of 10.
Okay, so now I've been a bit stealthy here, Luke. I mean, I've been a bit sneaky. I've not really properly revealed just exactly what I think of this film. And what I think of this film, because I actually think it was really, really good. I think, like, part of it, and one of the reasons I said this right up front, is because I do love the idea of a character who is just so committed to their own idea of justice and kind of their own goals and objectives that they sort of become unreasonable. That's something that I just find really interesting as a narrative idea. And I think,
it's a good idea.
Obviously, in terms of filmmaking as an art form, I think this film is pretty much on point. I mean, we haven't really spoken about the cinematography, but I mean, the closest example and kind of a representative example is what you were saying about how the kind of film is introduced, or sorry, the billboards are introduced.
Yes.
And I guess you could say the stylisticness, if that's a word. The stylization. I don't know.
Just say the style.
Style of the billboards, makes it kind of like that message. So, when it comes to set design and cinematography, it's on point. When it comes to acting, it's on point. When it comes to characterization, it's on point. You know what, Luke? Actually, there's one thing we haven't mentioned.
What?
The ambiguous ending.
Oh, yeah. We completely forgot about that.
Yeah, we've not mentioned it at all.
Yeah, so obviously Frances McDormand and Sam Rockwell, they go off to kill somebody who may or may not have committed a crime. And that ending right there, what do you think about it?
Okay, so it's I guess one of the things we were kind of already talking about, we're pretty much going to have to completely backtrack on our summarizing it, because it is quite a big thing. It's something I've seen people mention. So one of the things we've already kind of spoken about is the fact that there was a whole thing going on with, they thought they found the right guy, and it was actually not the right guy. And I was saying, and I think you were agreeing, that we were kind of both thinking there wouldn't be a suspect. That kind of the point of this film is that there was, there's no suspect. Can never, they'll never really work out who it was, possibly. And that would be kind of the idea of the film. Obviously, what instead happens is we find out that you think it's this guy, find out it's not actually this guy, but Sam Rockwell says, well, it seems like he's actually done something though, so maybe we should go chase him down. I think there's one thing in particular about the ambiguous ending that bothered me. I actually, as far as I'm concerned, I'll say this right now, I'm perfectly fine not knowing whether or not they do go and kill Mr. Idaho Man. I don't think that's really something we need to know, because I think that the film's taken us far enough in terms of looking at their characterization that how we want to interpret our characterization is like good enough, and I kind of wouldn't really want to know whether or not the filmmaker thinks they would do it or not. because I kind of feel like the characterization had, gone far enough in that regard. But apart, obviously I was kind of thinking to myself, like, it was a bit, I guess you could say it was a bit unrealistic. But I don't really know how I feel about basically the reveal. And also that guy showed up earlier and kind of already made reference to like the possibility that, so I think that aspect I am in two minds about, but I didn't have a problem with the ambiguity of whether or not they were going to kill him in the end.
Yeah, no, same. We explored these characters enough. Like I know both these characters. I'm fine with not knowing what happened to them. I'm fine with the ambiguous ending.
Yeah. So anyway, back to my summary.
Yeah.
We didn't. So the ambiguous ending, like I say, I didn't mind it. I thought it was actually quite good because, like I say, the characters have been taken as far as they need to be taken. And with all of that in mind, I am actually quite comfortable placing this in my ding-a-ling-a-ling new number one spot.
Oh, wow.
But it's more, and it's beating out La La Land. It's also beating out like Moonlight, Arrival, Grand Budapest Hotel, Blade Runner, and Get Out. And I don't really have a problem with it beating out any of those. It's almost like, for any of those films, it's not really that hard for me to just immediately see that I would rank this film above them. And because of that, I'm ding-a-ling-a-linging again, because this is actually my first 10 out of 10.
Wow.
So, and eventually, part of that is because of, and that's why I started off by saying, I'm personally really fond of the kind of idea of, Francis.
Yeah, no, I can tell. Wow.
But so it's my first 10 out of 10, Luke. And
what am I meant to say?
It's kind of surprising, actually, because I've got something else to say, because one of the things that I was saying was, I didn't think we were going to do Best Actor nominees and winners, because I said, that doesn't necessarily determine the quality of the film. That's what I said, Luke, because I said, you can have a bad film where somebody does a really good performance.
Well, and that's what I said in this film.
Yeah, but there we go. And
well, I'll just say,
bombshell.
I just say, because I think I need to defend myself here, because I only gave an 8.5.
Yeah, well, I did notice that, Luke.
I think like I said, this movie was nice, and I do appreciate it, and I do like it for what it is, but I just prefer other type of movies more.
Yeah,
it's fine. I think more narrative.
Yeah. I do think that the difference between like a 10 and a, well, I was going to say a 10 and a 9. We'll count an 8.5 as a 9.
Yeah, why not? Yeah.
For the sake. I think it is kind of subjective, so yeah, I wouldn't say that you're an uncultured moronics idiot.
Yes. Thank you for that.
No one's saying that.
Anyway, so join us next week when we will be selecting and reflecting on The Shape of Water, and we shall also be predicting the Oscars.
Yes.
For 2019.
It's kind of crazy how actually in reality it's going to be ages until we do that.
I know. Make sure you just upload them all on time.
Yeah, it should be easy.
Right. Good stuff. So who have you been, Michael?
I've been Michael.
And I've been Luke. And thank you for watching 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri. Join us next week for The Shape of Water. Goodbye.
Goodbye.